The year is 1462. Spring reaches the Balkans, but it carries no warmth. The thaw does not bring renewal, it brings the sound of marching. From the south, an empire advances. The Ottoman army crosses into Christian lands in overwhelming force, 90,000 men at the very least, perhaps more. Cavalry that has already thundered across 2 continents. Janissaries hardened by siege, the same elite corps that shattered the walls of Constantinople 9 years earlier. Artillery capable of reducing stone fortifications to powder. At their head rides Sultan Mehmed II, 29 years old. Conqueror of Constantinople. The ruler who achieved what generations of sultans had failed to accomplish. He does not ride north for glory that has already been secured. He rides to complete a design set in motion long before his birth, to bind the last Christian principalities between the Danube and the Carpathians, to stabilize the frontier, to make submission unquestionable and permanent. Europe watches from a distance. Hungary is exhausted, drained by previous wars and incapable of raising another decisive force. Venice is consumed with preserving its own fragile position. The Pope issues calls to arms that echo hollowly across indifferent courts. Poland remains silent beyond the mountains. No coalition forms. No army marches. No help is coming. In the path of this empire stands Wallachia, a principality so small it barely earned space on maps drafted in Rome or Paris. It is a land of forests and fields, shepherds and soldiers. Its wealth is modest. Its resources limited. Its ruler is known in Europe more by rumor than by understanding. Vlad III, son of Vlad II Dracul, a member of the Order of the Dragon, founded to defend Christendom against Ottoman expansion. Dracul once meant dragon before the word darkened into devil. Dracula, son of the dragon. The Ottomans call him Kazakli Bey, the Impaler Prince. He has worn the crown before and lost it. He has survived exile and betrayal. He understands instability because he has lived inside it. More importantly, he understands the Ottoman Empire from within. As a boy, he was taken to the Ottoman court in Edirne as a political hostage, raised alongside his younger brother Radu. There he learned their language, their discipline, their methods of rule. He observed the machinery of empire not from the battlefield, but from its inner chambers. He witnessed both its sophistication and its ruthlessness. In 1462, his brother stands aligned with Sultan Mehmed. The conflict has become more than political. It is personal. The numbers leave no room for illusion. Wallachia can assemble perhaps 20,000 men, farmers, lesser nobles, mercenaries bound together by urgency rather than strength. Against them stands an army more than 4 times their size, supported by artillery, supply trains, and imperial infrastructure. The fortresses of Wallachia are few. Their walls are outdated. Their allies absent. Most rulers, faced with such imbalance, would negotiate. Tribute would be offered. Terms accepted. Survival chosen over pride. Vlad does not negotiate. He has paid tribute before. He has sent wealth south and watched the cost borne by his people. He understands what submission brings: boys taken for janissary training, the gradual erosion of law and faith, the transformation of a principality into a province. He knows what bending becomes. So he chooses another path. When the Sultan demands greater submission, Vlad answers not with tribute, but with execution. The Ottoman envoys are killed. The gesture is unmistakable. There will be no compromise. No return. In late May, the Ottoman army crosses the Danube. Thousands of horses churn the riverbanks. Supply trains stretch toward the horizon. Siege engines grind forward toward Târgoviște. Sultan Mehmed rides with calm assurance. This will be swift, a punitive expedition, a demonstration of dominance. Wallachia will submit, or it will be erased. Yet as the army advances, certainty begins to erode. The land ahead is changing. At dawn, they reach the first village. It is still burning. No inhabitants remain. No livestock. No sound except wind moving ash across empty streets. Wells are clogged with stones and bodies. Granaries lie in blackened ruin. Fields are charred to sterility. There is nothing to seize. Nothing to consume. The vanguard presses onward. Another settlement reduced to cinders. Another abandoned. Another stripped of value. Wallachia is vanishing before them. Vlad has issued a single command across every settlement in the Ottoman path: burn the crops, poison the wells, drive the population into the forests, leave nothing the invader can exploit. It is a tactic as old as warfare itself, but rarely executed with such uncompromising totality. Inside Wallachia, the consequences are severe. Families abandon homes built over generations. Priests guide their congregations into the wilderness. Nobles torch their own estates rather than allow them to shelter the enemy. Forests fill with the displaced. Children sleep in caves. Elderly men collapse along woodland paths. Women give birth beneath trees without aid. The suffering is immense. But it is deliberate. The Ottoman army marches deeper into absence. Supply lines stretch dangerously thin. Hunger begins to gnaw at disciplined ranks. Horses weaken. Fatigue spreads. Mehmed expected resistance in battle. Instead, he encounters emptiness. He came north to conquer territory. Vlad decided to conquer fear. And slowly, methodically, the land itself becomes a weapon. At first, the danger feels insignificant. A scout fails to return. A sentry is discovered dead at his post. A horse bolts in the darkness, its throat cut so cleanly that no cry escaped. Small losses. Annoyances. The kind of incidents armies dismiss as the cost of campaign. Then the pattern deepens. Wallachian raiding parties begin to strike. 50 men. 100 at most. They appear without warning, erupting from forest or shadow, and disappear just as suddenly. They target supply wagons, ignite provisions, cut down isolated soldiers, and vanish before organized resistance can form. They do not stand their ground. They do not seek open battle. They do not fight for honor. They fight for fear. Ottoman soldiers learn quickly, never stray beyond the firelight. Never wander alone. Never sleep too deeply. Yet the raids continue, every night, from different directions, with no discernible rhythm. There is no pattern to anticipate. No safe hour. Sleep becomes impossible. Exhaustion spreads through the ranks like illness. Men begin to flinch at harmless sounds. Shadows seem to move. Discipline frays at its edges. Suspicion grows between units. Paranoia settles over the camp as steadily as the night air. And still, the land yields nothing. No grain. No livestock. No comfort. Sultan Mehmed II presses forward. His objective remains unchanged: Târgoviște, the Wallachian capital. Take the city. Capture Vlad. End resistance. Restore order. The army makes camp. Tents rise across the valley floor. Standards are planted in careful rows. Thousands of fires are lit, flickering beneath the darkening sky. 90,000 men attempt uneasy rest. The Sultan retires to his command tent, guarded by his janissaries, the elite core of his army. Confidence remains outwardly intact. Tomorrow they will seize the capital. Tomorrow this campaign will conclude. But Vlad is not in Târgoviște. He is in the hills. From elevation, he studies the Ottoman camp, counting fires, noting formations, measuring distances between command positions. His scouts have mapped the valley in detail. He knows where the Sultan's tent stands. He has not prepared a defense. He has prepared an attack. His officers question the plan. To strike 90,000 men with barely 10,000 is madness. To aim directly for the Sultan himself borders on suicide. But Vlad understands something they are only beginning to grasp. Empires do not collapse from defeat alone. They collapse when fear seeps into their certainty. The camp quiets. Guards remain at their posts. The moon rises, then disappears beyond the horizon. Darkness thickens until shapes dissolve into void. Then, in the deepest hour of night, movement begins. Torches flicker briefly, then vanish again. Thousands of Wallachian soldiers advance silently through forest cover. Horses' hooves are wrapped in cloth. Torches remain concealed until the final moment. The approach is deliberate, rehearsed. Vlad rides at the front. He knows this terrain intimately, every ridge, every hollow, every narrow path. He knows exactly where he must strike. Not at the army. At the Sultan. If Mehmed dies before dawn, command fractures. Confusion spreads. Succession crises ignite within the empire. The invasion collapses. Everything depends on speed. On darkness. On shock. Around 2 in the morning, the signal is given. Torches burst into flame. The Wallachian cavalry erupts from the tree line. They do not advance in orderly formation. They scatter into the Ottoman encampment from multiple directions, like predators loosed into a herd. Chaos ignites instantly. Tents catch fire. Horses scream and tear free from their stakes. Men wake to smoke, shouting, and steel flashing in unfamiliar accents. No one understands the scale of the assault. No one knows how many attackers there are. No one can see clearly enough to form defensive lines. The darkness itself becomes a weapon. Ottoman soldiers stumble from sleep into confusion. Some seize weapons blindly. Others run toward imagined threats. Many fall before they comprehend what is happening. Units attempt to form ranks, only to dissolve again under shifting assaults. Orders are shouted and lost in noise. The Janissaries, disciplined and battle-tested, attempt to organize resistance, but they are fighting shadows. Each time they pivot toward one cluster of attackers, flames rise elsewhere. Vlad's men torch supply wagons. They cut through isolated groups. They drive panicked horses deeper into the camp, amplifying disorder. They press inward, toward the center. Toward the Sultan. Word reaches Mehmed's guard. This is not a raid. It is an assassination attempt. The Sultan is pulled from his tent. Armor is thrown across his shoulders. Officers close ranks around him. A defensive square forms, disciplined, tight, immovable. Mehmed does not flee. He understands the stakes. If he dies tonight, history changes. And somewhere in the smoke and confusion, Vlad rides closer. The Wallachians push deeper into the chaos. Vlad rides close enough now to see the Sultan's defensive formation through firelight and smoke. 50 meters. Then 40. Steel collides in flashes of orange flame. For a brief, fragile moment, history balances on the edge of a blade. If Vlad reaches Mehmed, the empire loses its conqueror. The Sultan's standard sways violently as men fall around it. Janissaries close ranks, disciplined even in panic. The circle tightens. The assault narrows. The darkness, once Vlad's greatest ally, begins to thin. Dawn approaches. Vlad sees the eastern sky begin to pale. He understands immediately what that light means. In daylight, numbers will prevail. 90,000 against 10. The illusion of chaos will dissolve. He gives the order. Withdraw. The Wallachians disengage as suddenly as they struck. They melt back toward the forest. Torches vanish into trees. Hooves fade into distance. Silence slowly reclaims the valley. The Ottoman camp remains in ruin. Fires still burn. The wounded cry out. Bodies lie scattered across churned earth and trampled canvas. Later estimates will place Ottoman casualties somewhere between 5 and 15,000. Wallachian losses may reach 1,000. But the numbers are not what matters. Sultan Mehmed survived. The assassination failed by mere meters. And yet something irreversible has happened. Officers argue in hushed tones. Soldiers whisper openly. The invincible conqueror of Constantinople was nearly killed in his own camp. The empire that terrifies continents has tasted vulnerability. Mehmed refuses to retreat. The advance continues. The army marches toward Târgoviște. The capital lies near now. The decisive blow awaits. But when the Ottoman forces arrive, they do not encounter fortified walls bristling with defenders. They do not see siege preparations or banners raised in defiance. They find the gates open, the streets empty, and beyond the city, stretching outward across the landscape, they see something that halts every step. What awaits them is not an army. It is a message. The smell reaches them first, the thick, sweet, unmistakable. Decay heavy in the summer air. Then they crest the rise. What stands before them is not a forest of trees. It is a forest of stakes. Thousands upon thousands driven into the earth in deliberate rows, extending farther than the eye can comfortably measure. And upon each stake, a body. Ottoman prisoners. Captured soldiers. Traitors. Collaborators. Some have long since died, their flesh darkened by sun and time. Others still twitch faintly in the breeze. The army stops. No command is issued. No horn sounds. The men simply cease moving. Before them stand perhaps 20,000 impaled corpses, some sources claim more, all facing the direction of Ottoman advance. Positioned carefully. Arranged intentionally. This is not battlefield aftermath. This is architecture. A spectacle constructed with purpose. Psychological warfare elevated to something unprecedented in scale and symbolism. The message is unmistakable. You are not here to conquer. You are here to die. The officers look toward Mehmed. The Sultan who shattered Constantinople studies the field of impaled bodies. His expression reveals nothing. He was a ruler educated in Greek and Latin, a student of Alexander the Great, a strategist of immense ambition. But this is not conventional warfare. This is confrontation with something else, a land transformed into warning. Târgoviște lies ahead, empty and undefended. The capital can be taken. But to take it means nothing. Vlad is gone. The population has vanished. Supplies are destroyed. The territory offers no sustenance. Only exhaustion. Only decay. Only the certainty that the raids will continue. The army is strained. Supply lines weaken further with every mile. Morale fractures beneath the weight of what they have witnessed. This is not territory waiting to be absorbed. This is a landscape engineered to consume invaders. Mehmed issues the order to withdraw. Not officially a retreat. Not declared as defeat. A strategic repositioning. Victory is proclaimed. A puppet voivode is installed upon Wallachia's throne. And the Sultan rides south with dignity preserved. But every soldier understands what transpired. The conqueror of the greatest Christian city in the world turned back before a forest of corpses. The empire marches home. Wallachia remains. Not triumphant in a traditional sense. Not permanently secure. But unconquered. Vlad's reign will not endure much longer. Within years he will be overthrown by rivals. Within a decade he will die, perhaps assassinated, perhaps slain in battle. His head will be sent to Constantinople as proof of death. In Western Europe, especially through German pamphlets, he will become a symbol of cruelty and excess. Woodcuts will depict him feasting among impaled victims. His name will become synonymous with bloodlust, and centuries later, it will inspire the Dracula legend. But in Wallachia, memory takes a different shape. Here he is remembered as the voivode who refused submission. The ruler who chose a path so brutal that even allies struggled to defend it. A man who understood that righteousness alone cannot stop an empire. That faith is insufficient. That courage without strategy is suicide. He understood something older. Fear. not the fear of being conquered. The fear of conquering. He made the Ottoman Empire question the cost of victory. He transformed his homeland into a nightmare so complete that even triumph would taste like ash. And for one summer in 1462, that strategy worked. The stakes stood for years, visible from distant roads. Travelers recorded the sight from kilometers away. A monument not of stone, but of warning. Empires are built upon fear. That summer, fear changed sides. And that is why the name Vlad still survives, balanced forever between tyrant and defender, monster and strategist. The question remains: was he a butcher who resisted too well? Or the only ruler who understood what it truly takes to stop an empire? History never answers comfortably. It only remembers. This is dark history. Stories like this don't belong to one nation. They travel, just as armies once did. Through languages, across borders, through centuries. Tell me which part of the world you're listening from. I'm always curious in which country, in which city this story has come alive again. Because the past never truly disappears. It simply waits to be remembered.